Hey guys, it's Kevin from MixCoach. What I thought I would do today is to show you how I use the Waves SSL E-Channel. Now, I don't know how the other E-Channel plugins measure up to Waves. I just know that I've been using the Waves SSL E-Channel for at least 10 years, if not 15 years, because I love it that much. There's something about an SSL console that just adds this grit to a song, and I think a lot of it has to do with the compressor circuit. So I was going to walk you through exactly how I use mine. Okay, so here we are with the SSL channel. This is the factory default. So if you go to factory default here, if you notice, I've got an instant awesome SSL channel, which is something I'm going to show you and give you a little bit later if you'd like it. This is how it will instantiate when you bring it up from the factory. So the first thing I'll do is I'll hit the split button. And what the split button does is it moves the filter to before anything else. This is the same as, I don't know why this is not default, but because I haven't used SSL's the actual analog console on a daily basis, I don't know why they did it this way, but I always want the filters first. I want the filters working before the EQ, before the compressor, and this is the button that does that. Okay, the next thing I will do, what you have to understand about this SSL channel strip is that the compression happens before the EQ. Okay, so if we have it laid out now, the way it's set up is like this. And when you press this button, the channel out button, it rearranges things, and now you're EQing before you're compressing, which is what I like to do most of the time. Usually if I'm doing a corrective EQ, like if I'm filtering some mud out, or if I'm adding, or if I'm taking some lows out, and I want to clean up a signal, usually I'll want to do that first so that my compressor is not looking at the old outdated sound, right? I don't want my compressor working any harder than it has to. Now there are cases when you might want to do that a little bit differently, but this is how I leave it set up most of the time. So two things: set up the split and set up the channel out. Now it's configured the way I like for it to be configured in the way that things are happening in the signal path in the order that I like for them to happen. Okay, so hit those two buttons first. The next thing I'll usually do is filter. The next thing I will listen for is any low end things that I can hear that are muddy, or better yet, the things that you can't hear that you don't need. Like for example, on an acoustic guitar, if you mic a really good acoustic guitar with a really good player and a really good mic, large diaphragm condenser mic, you're going to end up with some low end that you can hear if you solo it, but you can't hear in the track. Well, anytime that there's low end information going on in your acoustic guitar track, or your piano track, or your electric guitar track, or your vocal track, those are the main tracks for me, you will find that low end actually is working the subs. If you were able to look at your subs, you would actually see them move when someone opens or closes the door, right? That is taking away from the punchiness of your mix. So you need to be careful to filter that stuff. So I always filter it. What I always do on my SSL is I'll run the filter up until it starts to sound thin, and then I'll pull it back about, just a little bit. So I'll leave a little bit of margin of error for there. Now, your mileage may vary. If you're using big monitors with subs, you'll be able to hear it a lot better. If you're using NS10s, you might not be able to hear it as much. So that's why I back it down just a little bit. But if you look at it, like in this signal here, in this case, I'm at 88. A lot of times on vocals, I'll run it up as high as 120, because again, it varies for every vocal depending on the microphone and everything. And a lot of times I will go ahead and preemptively filter things, because I know that there's a lot of low end frequency going on in the vocal, in the acoustic, in the electric. Even in the bass, sometimes there's a lot of, like, when the bass player is playing a note, and he'll hit the string to mute the string with his right hand, with his picking hand. A lot of times you'll get this little bump in the low end. Sometimes, believe it or not, the bass track will be a little cleaner if you filter it. So the next thing I'll do is filter it. The very next thing I will do is this. Now this sounds unconventional, but try this and I promise you, you will love the way this sounds. There's something about this circuit that just makes this sound amazing. I've been doing this for years, and if you want to download, in the comment section below or in the description, there is a link where you can go and download this preset. Okay, what I'll do with the EQ, okay, not EQ, so hit the split the channel out, then I'll filter. The next thing is I won't look at the EQ just yet. I'm going to compress first, unless there's a sound in there that I'm trying to get out, like a muddiness on the vocal or something like that. Then I'll EQ a little bit, but then I'll go straight over here to this threshold, and I'll make sure that the ratio is at 1 so that you're not really compressing anything, and then I'll push the threshold all the way up. And what this does is it compresses everything at 1:1, which runs the signal through this VCA circuit that sounds so good here. Okay, you're not done yet. Now what I'll do is I'll push the ratio up until I get about 3:6. Now keep in mind that when you're hitting the 3, you could be getting as many as 5 dB of compression, right? The reason I say that is because that one LED that lights up when you hit 3, there's not another one that lights up until you get to 5. So you could be, or 6, you could be hitting 5 dB of compression. So what I'll usually do is I'll hit the 3 or the 6. Now keep in mind, when you hit 6, you could be getting as many as 9, because the 10 dB light comes on at 10 dB. As far as I can tell. So just be careful here. Now there's something really cool about this circuit, is that it has this auto makeup gain, and this is one of the things that sounds so good. I will push the ratio up until I get 3:6, either the 3 or 6 LED is lighting up, and you'll notice that your sound becomes more urgent. That's the only way I can describe it. This is what a VCA compressor, in my opinion, does. It makes things sound more urgent, more serious, more like your eyebrows on your mix just went like this a little bit. Puts a little snarl in it, right? There are other compressors that will make things just sound smoother or sound less dynamic or whatever. All compressors are made to do that. But this compressor right here, when you compress it, it just sounds, it gives it snarl. I can't really describe it except that it just gives it some attitude, okay? That's what VCA compressors do to me. Okay, so this is what I'll do. Again, I'm gonna walk you through the steps really quick. Hit the split button, hit the channel out button, then filter, then run your threshold all the way up, then run your ratio up until you get about 3 to 6 dB of compression. Now, I've noticed that even when you hit these red peak buttons here, it's not really a peak button. It means that it's at 0 dB. So it might peak, but the thing I've noticed about this SSL compressor is you never hear it peak. And it just sounds good. So it doesn't bother me that much when this goes into the red, because it just sounds good. Now, if you're a really stickler about it and you want to gain stage everything just so, you may want to pull the output down just a little bit to keep the red light from coming on, right? Okay, so let me show you an example of me setting up a compressor this way that I just showed you. I just reset everything back on the SSL to the factory default. This is the way it's going to instantiate if you're using a Waves SSL E-Channel plugin. And I've got a kick track looped right now, and I want to walk through this process with you, okay? Let's pull this down there. Hit the split, channel out. Okay, so I've got it filtered about 40. I didn't really hear anything disappear in the low end, so I'm going to keep it there. Now I'm going to run the threshold all the way up, and I'm going to run the ratio up. Okay, so that I'm going to let you hear it with and without it now. Now that may just be a little bit louder, but to me, even if you factor in the difference in the volume, the sound still has this rock and roll sort of snarl about it that's pretty cool. So let me pull this down to a snare drum real quick. Okay, so this is an SSL channel. As you can see, it's factory default, and this is just snare. Okay, we'll solo the snare, and then we're going to go through the same process. Okay, so it doesn't sound like it's done much yet because I've done it a little step at a time, but listen to the before and after, okay? Just those 3 or 4 little changes. This is with. See, makes a lot of difference. Now, maybe in another video I can show you what it will do with vocals, but if you have an SSL E-Channel from Waves specifically, try this. I have tried this with other SSL emulations, and it works on the other ones too. So if you have an SSL channel, you may have a new purpose for using it. I use the SSL channel on just about every track. With an exception of just a few instruments, I'll put the SSL on everything. I just think it sounds that good. And when you do this little, remember that when you're mixing, there's no one big thing that you can do to make your mix sound that much better. And a lot of people that think that there is usually end up with the distorted mixes and just kind of like off-track mixes. Good mixing comes from a step at a time, all small things usually on a good mix. So this is one of those small things that when you add it up across all your tracks, it will make a huge difference. If you think this is helpful, let me know. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you want to hear more about these tutorials coming out from time to time. Also, if you want to download either the checklist or the preset that you can load into your SSL E-Channel, then there is a link below, or you can go to mixcoach.com/instant awesome. Okay, this is Kevin, and thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you on the next video.